Hello, beautiful divine souls. My name is Maya Starfire. Welcome to my channel. If you're here, welcome, welcome. Thank you for coming. I wanted to come outside before the sun goes down today, and I set up my camera in a way that this amazing light beam just showed up, and I thought, well, I guess this is where I'm supposed to be. I wanted to talk a little bit today about giving back to Gaia and remaining grounded and having the chance to speak to Mother Earth and to Source and to be connected with the all that is, really. The all that is us and is everything. And beautiful, really. Like when we can get ourselves out of the day-to-day grind and the chores and responsibilities and daily life stuff, and we can take a chance to look around, then we can be filled up with what the earth has to give in abundance, especially this time of season. Here in California in America, it is the end of spring and soon to be summer. So I wanted to also take this chance to introduce you to some of my babies. And my babies are not the human babies, but the other sentient life that I take care of and love dearly and give as much energy as I possibly can until they go through their cycles. And we all go through cycles, right? This is this tree behind me is a walnut tree, and I happen to live on the property that my grandpa built. My grandma and grandpa built this back in the 60s. So this land and the house, it has like a profound energy from them, and also just a profound energy because of our surrounding. We live by a giant lake. It's not as big as Lake Tahoe, but it's a natural lake. And we also live by a smaller volcano, which is about 30 minutes away from an even bigger volcano. So the ground is just fueling with energy. And I am able to find obsidian on the ground and lots of quartz. And so that, in combination with, the natural history that was here before anybody else came, you can feel it pulsating in the ground. And I know for a fact that I have felt Gaia breathing in moments where I'm blessing her and praying over her and giving gratitude to her. I could see and feel her breath, and it was amazing. And I know that it is because of the energy that I have so much gratitude to live around and on. And when I was growing up, of course, I didn't realize what I had or where I lived. I thought this place was boring. Country life sucks. I gotta go to the city. And then what happens? I go live in various cities all over California. I even tried to go to Alaska, and that didn't work out because I grew up in a place that was grounded and surrounded by beauty and life. And whether I realized it or not, which I didn't, I was grounded in this kind of world and land. And I'm so grateful that I had that opportunity and that I had that inner knowledge now, because I'm able to know exactly what I want and exactly where I want to be. And it's not in a city, and it's not in a place congested with people or traffic and boxy buildings and electrical wire and all the other terrible stuff and bad stuff for you that I don't even want to get into, but if you're here, you might have an idea as to what I'm talking about. So anyways, I was talking about the tree. I'm sorry. Sometimes I go off before I get started. So if you have the patience to listen to me, that's amazing. If not, that's amazing too. So this tree behind me is a walnut tree. And when I was very little, I used to play out here on this very lawn right next to this tree. And the swing behind me was put here when I was little. It was eventually taken down at some point, but I spent a lot of time out here and a lot of listening to the birds and playing in the grass. And at that time, I could have swore I saw fairies until I was told otherwise, and then I doubted everything. And that's a whole other subject that we could talk about later. Um, you know, the shoving down of truth and the shoving down of imagination and the shoving down of peeking through the veil that usually gets taken away from us because our parents are scared or they don't know any better or because they can't see either. So anyways, I spent a lot of time here, so I have a great affinity for this tree. And when I really need to either give back some great thanks or have a long sit and think about something. And even on the days where I feel like I'm just so chaotic in my mind and I can't seem to get past the spinning in my brain, I come over here and I basically hug this tree. I don't exactly hug it, but I do touch it. And I close my eyes and I meditate with it. And I give great thanks to it. And I can feel the vibrations coming off of the tree. And this along with the earth, Mother Earth, Gaia, I mean, all of this is Gaia, but having my feet in the ground, it does really, take the harshness and the low vibration out and it transmutes it. It definitely does. There were times where I have meditated with this tree or another lovely tree in the backyard, and I opened my eyes and the green looked like a whole different kind of bright green. The colors were brighter, they were almost different, they were almost like a different color I've ever seen before. And it was just one of these amazing, like, aha moments. You know, thank you. Thank you, Gaia. Thank you. Thank you, tree. Thank you, life source. Thank you, energy, for allowing me to see brighter and clearer just because I took that moment to myself and to be connected with something that was real and living and wise. And I do believe that if we take the time to sit and listen to the trees, to the wind, to the plants, to the rocks, even I have a great affinity to rocks. There's a whole thing about rocks and things that Mother Gaia has allowed me to find or sent to me, whatever way you want to perceive it. It amazing, part of my awakening has to do with finding things in and on Gaia, and I believe that I was meant to find these things for a reason. It was part of my waking up to my purpose and my remembering of, maybe not remembering my whole soul's journey, but a remembering of importance of now and where I need to be anchored in. And so this is my beautiful walnut tree. It's not the kind of walnuts that you can eat. It is a black walnut tree. It is very lovely though. It is very big. Like I said, when I was a kid about 40 years ago, I used to play here with this tree, and hopefully I can give you a better perspective. It's a giant, big tree. I can't even get the top of it. Beautiful tree. The cats play in it. The birds tease the cats. And someday I'm sure the little one will try to climb it. So me and this tree have a great history. Me and this lawn have a great history. Sometime I'll show you, but I found a 4-leaf clover, and I'm not too sure if any of you understand how uncommon it is to find a 4-leaf clover, but it is extremely rare. I mean, it is for me here where I live in California. I've always looked. After I found that one, I've always looked. I came back to this county wanting to for like 5 years before I did. Life's journey sent me up to Oregon and then back again. I'm not going to get into that whole story now, but I was in the position where I could help my grandmother in the last years of her life, and nobody else could. And so that's how I ended up here now. That was also a very healing, profound experience. And it also led me back to the roots of where I grew up, which was also a very profound, extreme thing to go through. Grandma died about 3 years ago, but she's definitely not gone. Her energy is still very much in the house. For about a year, close to a year after she died, the house was extremely active. It was a little bit active before that because my grandfather also passed away in this house. It's never been a scary kind of situation with their energies here. It's always been very loving and warm, or kind of like, oh my gosh, did you see that? That was so cool, you know? So, maybe another time I'll talk about that. But today I wanted to introduce you to some of my sentient, grounded children. And while I did not plant this tree, I was here for its baby years when I was a baby, so I feel very connected to it. And maybe someone is going to think this is silly, but I don't. So anyways, enough about this one. Put my shoes on because, well, I love the grass. The gravel is not kind to my feet. I'm going to point us over here, and these are some redwoods that I was here for when my grandfather planted some of them. Now, these are very energetically profound trees for sure. If you've ever been to Humboldt County, Eureka, you know what I mean. It's very small in comparison to the ones you find in Eureka and Humboldt, but they have an essence, these trees. These redwoods have a definite essence in them. And thank you for being here. I'm still learning. Thank you for being patient if you're here with me now. Okay, so something that is not a tree, what we talked about, I talked about rocks, right? I have a profound affinity for rocks. Well, before I got into diving deep with like deep understanding of spirituality and who I am and where I come from and what this is all about and what the Great Awakening is about, I started to get really creative, and I started to do things naturally. I just felt called to do these things. Now it'll make more sense once I show you what I've been doing. I just called it rock art. But then I was listening to one of my favorite channels, Honey C. Golden, and she talked about this man who was going around to all these beaches and forests and making these beautiful designs with rocks, and how he was grid working, and how, whether he realized it or not, it was like a light language, and he was doing this grid working thing. And I had this epiphany, like, oh my goodness, I've been doing the same thing, and I had no idea what I was doing. Then once I realized that that's what I was doing, I started doing it more, and it does produce a certain kind of energy on it. Now, the grass just got mowed and weed whacked, so you're not going to be able to see it quite well. I'll try and post a picture of it when it was more visible. But here, I'm gonna point it around. These are just swirls. There's 3 of them here. You can't probably really see. That was the first one I did. I developed this affinity for symbols out of nowhere. Symbols and pictographs, and I can't remember what the other one's called. You find them in Egypt and whatever. I developed this profound like obsession with them, and I'm sure there's a greater story there, and I know that there is, with why all of a sudden this hit me like a ton of bricks. Okay, and so this is the next one I did. It's just a simple, oh, we've got lots of little ants on it. I know they hate that I did this to their home, where they get a little bit ticked off when it first happens, but guess what? You invade my home every summer, so you know, tit for tat, right? No. I try not to kill them. I feel really bad killing anything at this point. I do my very best to take a insect or a spider outside, unless it's poisonous, because I do have kids and animals. So anyways, that was another one. I have another one I'm working on, and they do hold this, like they vibrate a different kind of energy when I'm sitting on top of them. And I just did that on accident one day. I was like, wonder what will happen if I stand on top of this symbol that I created and just come to center and breathe. What will happen? So I did that, and I stood there, and my legs began to vibrate, and I got this intense energy flow. And then I began to sit down and meditate on top of it, and sun gaze on top of it. And it was, I can't even explain the heightened energy I felt. It's, like grounding, but 10 times. Like if somebody were to put like a electricity volt that's not going to hurt you underneath the ground. So that's just a little bit about my rock obsession. A little bit. If you saw how much rocks I had, both natural and store-bought crystal ones, you'd probably laugh at me. I do tend to give them back once I've had them for a long time, so I'll give them back to the earth because I feel bad taking them away. And I always make sure that when I do take a rock home, I ask it permission. I know that sounds silly, but I do believe that rocks and minerals are sentient living beings. They change, they evolve, they grow throughout time. In fact, I have some rocks that you can literally see the time scale in them, like how much pressure they have been under and how much they have formed and changed throughout time. And anything that can change itself from one significant structure into something else has got to be living. Not to mention that when you touch these, so not maybe all rocks you could, but for me, it's certain rocks, hold certain rocks, you can feel a certain vibration off of them. That's why, we use them to heal and meditate, right? So here's some more of my babies. These are my lovely lavender. Here's a beautiful orchid that just popped up. Here's a giant piece of obsidian, now that we're talking about all that. And, my garden's not the most beautiful garden in the world, but it's mine. There's my little gnome. And these are all my babies. And those are just the plants and the rocks and whatnot that I call my babies. I also grow certain things to make medicines from them. That's why I have such an affinity, I think, to like rose and lavender and rosemary. Some of the rosemary plants are older than me here. And I don't want to even go there, but some of them are. And there's something about that when you find a plant or a tree something that's been within the earth, living through all the seasons and all the years and all the changes and all the lives. Children become adults, and those adults have children, those children become adults, and those children have children. And then these plants are here to witness all that and feel the vibration and the energy from all of that. It's a very healing aspect to infuse into any kind of medicine. For me, I mean, it's especially special for me when I make my medicines for some of my clients. You know, it's a little bit of my magic, a little bit of, of the earth's magic, my family's lineage in these plants, and my magic I infuse with the natural energetics of these plants. So, and I always thank them. I always bless anything I make. I make sure to infuse everything I make with light and put as much energy into it as possible. And, it's my way of contributing and being creative and, getting back to our organic selves. Working with the earth. I wish I had more knowledge about working with the earth and how to do things better. I'm not any kind of a master at any of this. A lot of this stuff is just natural inner knowing stuff, or witnessing some things from family. And yeah, that's about it. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the land I live on and what I do with it and how it's helped me heal. I believe that all of Gaia's land, natural land, even unnatural land, if you walk on top of concrete, if that's all you have is concrete, you walk on top of it with your bare feet, that is Gaia. Now, she's pulverized and manufactured and, made into cement, but it came from her. So if that's all you have for that moment, then use it. Yeah, anyways, I thank you for coming by. Thank you for listening to a little bit of my story. I just hope to inspire health and healing. I've been through a lot of really traumatic, negative things that could have taken me down a different path. And like most of you, I'm sure, because for some reason, well, we all know the reason, but a lot of us have been through the ringer more than once, more than twice, probably more than 10 times, and still came out wanting to not only heal ourselves, but help to heal each other and things around us. Do I think that I was always like this after every traumatic event? Absolutely not. No. I think that it took a lot of work at times to get myself back into not staying in that anger mode or victim mode. But I do see a big change in humanity, even with, people I don't really know that well, don't know for sure if they're into this. There's a lot of things coming out of people's mouths that sound like the same thing that I'm talking about and thinking about, and it's amazing. It's so amazing. There's so much profound change happening, and I know I already talked about this like 3 times, but there is a wonderful change, and it can be scary and disruptive and destructive, but the winds of change are definitely here, and Gaia and the elementals are making it extremely clear that they are here, and they're here to make the changes needed, here to support the changes that are needed. You know, we've been up against a giant force for a very long time. And Gaia is done. She's just not putting up with it anymore. And the elementals are completely, fully supporting her and us in this, along with many other beings out there, you know, beings of light and love. Um, oh, there's a blue jay. That's another thing I love about this place. Sorry, I got a little bit of ADD, but I hope you can see. Oh, blue jays. Hello. They're so cute and they're so loud, but they. Hello, guy. I hope you see that. I hope it. Hi. Oh, he's not even scared. Hi. Hi. They're just so fearless. He's probably eating some of the ants, which, you know, I'm not going to interfere on because that's nature. Now, when my cats go after the birds, I chew them out and I drag them inside because it's a little bit of stuff I can control, right? Just a tiny bit of, let's not kill the birds. You guys have cat food. And I know that's a cycle of life, but I wish it was different. Anyways, thanks for listening to me. Thank you for coming by. I really appreciate you. If you did come by and you took the 26 whatever minutes it took for me to go over how I find things beautiful, I hope you find things beautiful too. I hope this inspires you to go outside and adopt a plant as a child, or to stick your feet in the ground if you probably already do it already. You know, all of us are on this path. I am not a master, you know, I'm not some kind of a guru at all. I'm here ascending with you. There's a lot that I have to learn. I just hope to help anybody either figure something out, remind them of something. That's all I'm hoping to do here. You know, spread a little remembrance, spread a little love, spread a little healing, you know, and thank you for being here. I promise I'll get better at these. Okay, have a wonderful night or morning or afternoon, and I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.